What up, Random Rockers? Captain Marvel. The 11th, I'd say. Or no, the 21st film? And the second to last in the third phase of Marvel movies, and only a month away from till Endgame, Avengers Endgame comes to be, and I'm glad I didn't hear Brie Larson's comments. I'm also glad to have taken Chris Stuckman's advice and go into this with an open mind. Because my God, this movie is fun. And anyone who has and there are some that had the balls to say it's in the worst categories to the point of comparing it to Thor: The Dark World, which I am willing to defend. But Iron Man 2? Are you fucking kidding me? Iron Man 2? No, this was fun. And then the Guardians comparison, which, can I say it's better than Guardians? I mean, I enjoyed it more personally, but I understand if Guardians 1 was considered a better, more held together film, even if I just wasn't feeling it. And I feel like the movie itself is a little overhyped. And Guardians of the Galaxy 2, though fine as it is, and for certain aspects of it that help make it better, thanks more in part to what happened in Infinity War, or at least made those parts involved in Infinity War even more interesting and even better than they had any right to be, dude. Just, wow. Of course, Infinity War, in case you guys don't know and probably never did get a chance to because I didn't get to do a list, it managed to make my top 5 at least. Whether or not I would say it's better than Black Panther is an entirely different story. I would probably put Black Panther higher because of the fact, in terms of quality, in terms of an actual quality film, I would kind of put Black Panther a little higher. Or at least, not to mention, even though it was just meant to kind of hush up certain groups of individuals, Black Panther had, at least managed to get a nod for Best Picture, so. And as it probably deserved. If you think about it. And plus, Killmonger's such a great villain. And Thanos was awesome too. So it's tough to say, but just culturally, I think Killmonger has a better impact. And it wouldn't have worked as well without not only Ryan Coogler's direction, but just... I already gushed about it. You can check my review on it. Yeah, I've been more thorough about that there, but I enjoyed this film. I don't think I missed too much. I think I caught it at a certain point. Let me know in the comment if I missed anything in like the very beginning, or just the very beginning, her actually waking up in the world of the Kree, wherever the name of the planet is called. That I am so blanking on. I would definitely not be doing good movie trivia in that one. Involving this movie. Yikes. Oh boy. But anyway. I really did enjoy I enjoyed this movie, and I think it's far better. And if it is in the middle part of the road when it comes to the MCU films, fine. As long as it means it's better than the likes of Iron Man 2. Far better than Iron Man 2. It's definitely better than Thor: The Dark World. It's definitely better than Guardians of the Galaxy 2. As far as I'm concerned, y'all seen how that was, and sadly, the last you ever saw of her in a review, he probably wasn't happy with how I was handling myself in that one, and just was like, but anyway, I really did enjoy this film. I know it's Captain America. I know, but it's still Marvel related, MCU related as well. The shirt, I mean, but anyway, the I'm not gonna sit here and say that some people trying to compare to Wonder Woman is unfair, because that film in of itself opened the groundwork and probably became the one thing that actually may have pulled out the allowed Kevin Feige and the rest of the people involved in in this whole MCU thing, in making this Marvel Cinematic Universe to pull their head out of their ass and do a film like Captain Marvel, which worked for what it is. And Brie Larson did well with what she had, but it's pretty clear there's something to it to where it requires more than one view. To some, depending on if you go in open-minded, not listening to negative stuff, or any of the comments that Brie had said that led to people going into it and just not being able to take it in proper. You know, if you just blank that out, I think you'll have more of a fun time. And that's what this movie is. It's a fun time. And yeah, it's not as seemingly as put together. And honestly, there's a lot of the way some of some of it is done, and the humor to me is not so much Guardians as it is Men in Black. Especially when it comes to Goose. The cat. Who's, of course, yes, named after the character from Top Gun, which I believe was intentional. And I know they say a lot of 90s, but there's some similarities, I guess, in terms of certain story beats, or at least towards Brie Larson's character, given she kind of came from sort of in the 80s, around the 80s, and then coming back into the 90s 6 years later in 95. So it was shit. So you're telling me that she basically got abducted in 89? Like around my birthday. Kind of. My birth year. That just makes me feel even older. Shit. Because it was technically a 6-year time gap. And it, of course, took place in the 90s and apparently in the year 95. Though that also kind of makes since it's still 90s based, it makes you kind of give a pass for some of it, especially when it comes to what I just said about the Men in Black, because technically it was the 90s, around maybe 99, 98, 97 when that came out, so it's a few years later still than the time frame that this was, but still very much, there's very a Men in Black kind of vibe about it. And the Star Force was pretty interesting. I'm not as huge and well versed in the Kree. I know of the Kree Skrull War being a huge arc. This sort of dives a little bit into it, but it's definitely takes some reworkings, and they do a lot of different things than what actually does happen in the comics. So I think that's the thing that people are honestly really bitching about. It's really that, and not just some feminist agenda bullshit that people are saying, and I don't understand that. And that's not even the complaint I think people should be taking from this, and we'll eventually get to that. And Sam Jackson and Phil Coulson for what little they have in there, and the de-aging they used on them. As everyone is touting, they're not lying. It's awesome. It works. It doesn't take you out of the movie. It really works really well. It's barely even noticeable unless you're really trying to look for it, which I don't even think you can find anything on that. So, but overall, I enjoyed this, actually. I enjoyed this. I can dare say that I've got a little more out of this film, personally, or at least I had a lot more fun with this film in comparison to maybe First Guardians, so definitely way more than Guardians Volume 2. I don't know if I can say that this is better comes off better. I mean, some of the other characters, Ben Mendelsohn, by the way, or at least the way they did things for his character, which is like the lead Skrull. And plus, the main premise of this is essentially we start with her on this planet. She has no memory of who she was in the past, and all she knows is that she seems to be part of this Kree group, only to find out, as expected, years later, that she was actually a part of this. Basically, was an Earthling this whole time that had basically been abducted and had 6 years of her life taken from her because they wanted to basically use her as a weapon. Oh yeah, spoilers. Whoopsie. Sorry. We're gonna do spoilers officially in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I already kind of did that spoiler with that part, but because basically her entire body is the core of this one thing that was created by this doctor they were looking for that created the spacecraft, and she was basically a Kree scientist that was helping the Skrulls, who were essentially, they were just refugees from their planets, and the Kree were just really just tyrants, which we all kind of knew anyway. Even more so for those who watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. over the years, here and there. So there's some tie in there. A lot of things happened. Goose the Cat has a lot of moments in it, and some of them work, and some of them are funny. And then when when the true reveal of the cat, which is some certain particular type of alien life form, like this thing with the cat is almost kind of feeling reminiscent of Men in Black in and of itself. And I think that's where the main Men in Black thing comes into play for me. Is the cat being like holding a big part, basically like compared to Orion and the galaxy being stuck on Orion's belt, like, and him winding up with the Tesseract, and also the funny scene with the kid with the Will Smith's character having the baby thing. Yeah, you basically take what happens there with him and kind of apply something sort of like that mixed with that, and that's what happened with the cat. I shit you not. It's funny at first, and then they just kind of use him for that, to play off of that, and then the thing with the cat that starts to piss me off, and further proves my point of why I'm not a cat person and more of a dog person, unless you're talking about my one buddy who I went to do a party with last night, and then after that party with a couple of the friends did something else I'm not going to talk about, but let's say this hat. I feel violated. It's not the same. It's never going to be the same, and I don't want to get rid of the hat either. We have some fond memories. We shared some fun memories. We'll put it that way. Anyways. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to do the thing I was thinking of doing just now. So, as far as that cat is concerned, seriously, that's how Fury loses his eye. Like, that's the only real complaint in this movie that I understand nobody being. And you play it up mostly just for a laugh. You kind of take all these moments that were kind of badass, even dialogue from previous films, and you kind of killed it by doing this. And it's kind of a bummer. Because it's an alien cat and just something with with whatever's in their claws must have done something to basically fuck his eye up completely, or something in their claws just not going to sit well with it, and it just caused him to lose his eye over getting clawed by an alien cat. Like, fucking really? I mean, it doesn't completely take me out of the movie, but it does enough to kind of fuck up his character a little bit, or what badassery he had in certain moments. Though I did love the part, I mean, I understood because they said something about, I guess she was referred to as Avenger, or the plane she was wearing, she had was referred to that she had was called Avenger or something, and that's why she changed the name to Avengers Initiative, I guess. That weird thing near the end. And the entire movie is essentially nothing but a is a lot of 90s soundtracks, and yeah, that's where the Guardians stuff kind of comes into play. Guardians comparison comes into play, but I mean, I'm gonna give the soundtrack to Ragnarok a little bit more over this a little bit, but the thing is, I'm kind of more of a 90s thing, and the and then choices of music for given with the character and stuff made more sense. You Garbage, you Hole, yeah. Of course, Nirvana was gonna show up at some point with the whole grunge thing. They heard with the leather jacket, of course. I mean, it's not like I mean. Sometimes I wear flannel, and sometimes I have this, and sometimes I have both. So I guess technically I'm a little on the grunge side myself, but that's also the fact that I mostly just did this for obvious reasons because of Winter Soldier, what his style get up in Winter Soldier and stuff, for Cap. So that's kind of why I did it. So and now she has that similar thing, and they're basically trying to tout her as the replace. I guess for legit leader of Avengers, he's going to be a replacement, but there's also a possibility of either still could have a new Captain America through either Falcon or Bucky. It's unclear at this point, but we'll see how things translate when that comes to be in the follow-ups. And it's mostly just most of the original Avengers, so they're just gonna have to fix Thanos with the help of Marvel. So we'll see how that goes. Don't know when Tony's gonna come into play, but we'll see how that goes too. I'm hoping that this follow-up movie Endgame is gonna be good. Please, for the love of God, be good. And make what we went through with Infinity War worthwhile, and especially with Captain Marvel. Uh, for some of us who didn't care for it, which I did, so I have no problem and issues going into this. Coming off of Infinity War and this, and I'm just more underwhelmed with Ant-Man, but he's at least there's something with him that's going to work, I guess. I really also I do like the fact of the reveal that the Doctor was basically was Marvel, and not Jude Law's character. In fact, Jude Law and the rest of Star Force were essentially, along with the Kree in general, were essentially the main antagonists. As I kind of expected was going to happen, but the way they handled and executed it, I thought was perfect. Even more so to the extent where it's like you're still kind of I'm still holding off on it, but that's mostly because of what I know, at least when it comes to the Skrulls through the comics. So I'm still just kind of leery on it, but I kind of wanted to believe it anyway, and Mendelsohn's performances was good enough to make me believe in it. That's the thing that even makes it even more interesting. Mendelsohn is really more the good guy the whole time, and the rest of the Skrulls are as well. Although there's a potential possibility Skrulls could come back. And the thing with the Skrulls is that eventually, at some point, one of the Skrulls might have a different agenda and result in the Skrulls becoming no different from the Kree. And maybe that might be the new issue as a Skrull invasion for the next phase onward or so. Who knows? Who knows? Which would be very interesting. And would just only make Captain Marvel's character a little even more as possibly leading the future of the MCU more likely and understandable if they pull that off right, depending on how Endgame goes. But yeah, I really did enjoy this. There's a definite feminine message. I understand if it seems beat over the head, and yeah, I admit it's a bit rough when it comes to Marvel's, to the Carol, to Danvers' role in the film, or at least her part when she finally gets her powers back fully, or at least to the extent where she fights most of the rest of Star Force. The use of "no doubts, I'm just a girl." I mean, really. I mean, yeah, I understand if it times seems to take it out a little bit, but it just makes. And yeah, the soundtracking is so Guardians. I mean, that's understandable, but it works here far better than it ever did in Volume 2. But I don't know if I can say Ragnar. I did whether it's debatable on whether or not I can say this is done better than what little we got out of that kind of a thing out of it for Ragnarok. But as far as I'm concerned, um, this soundtrack is, to me, the soundtrack in here is kind of tied. To me, at least, is tied. It has tied itself in pretty well for the most part. It doesn't beat you over the head. I mean, it's at least it's better than what happened in Guardians Volume 2 with the Pac-Man thing, which, even though it was somewhat funny at the time, I can understand it, people bitching on it. You know, I was whatever. But overall, I did like this. I still like it. I understand if it's kind of in the middle, and yeah, there are better MCU films to check from, including Infinity War and Black Panther we had last year. Though I will say it's a step up from Ant-Man and the Wasp, I tell you that much. That's for sure. But anyways, I already bitched about Fury issue, but even though the whole thing with them as a buddy cop is great, I did like the dynamic and how the whole thing seemed with the Kree Skrull War, where you kind of felt and understood the Skrulls were kind of the bad guys, but they did. Aside from maybe that one scene where they seemed to be messing with her memories, you don't really get too much of a feel for them as bad guys, I guess, and you don't really, except for them, her having to chase him down, I guess, or something. I don't know. Do what you have to do, but yeah, I don't. And we find out how she got her powers, and I'm forgetting the actress, but who plays basically who winds up playing Mar-Vell / Supreme Intelligence, and those were interesting moments, that's for sure. And also, I loved the reveal on how she changed her suit, and that it was an option in the wrist, the one wrist thing, and her photon blasts are essentially part of her powers. And that she kind of gained it from the machine's core, which was built off of the Tesseract, so one of the Infinity Stones. So she's OP as heck, to the point where you kind of wonder how Thanos is going to beat him. But yeah, she has the Tesseract and other Infinity Stones, but it seems they're rendered useless. But I have a weird effed up feeling in some weird way Thanos is going to find a way to get the glove on, and when she uses it, the photon blast is going to recharge the stones. And then Thanos is an even bigger threat again. That's my guess. At least, but I don't where it goes from there, I'm not sure, but we'll see how it plays out. And yeah, I loved the reveal in the middle. That was a good cred scene. It was worth a clap, but I could see the way that this was set up. It's got to be in the movie Endgame. Just in the same way as the Ant-Man scene in the middle, where you see what happened in Infinity War. No, what happened in Civil War. Captain America Civil War with Bucky, and that scene would help tie in with what happened in Ant-Man. It's very similar to that scene. Very, very similar. With that in cred. But the second one was very, very similar to how things were with the Ant-Man film. It was We were hoping it wasn't going to be another silly one, but yes, it was. But it was one that made some sense as to eventually how the Tesseract was eventually in their actual possession. With the fact the cat had eaten the Tesseract and that alien thing, which I forgot the name of what it was called, but I had eaten the thing, and eventually, by the end of the film, through comedic purposes, I basically barfed it back up. And so eventually, I guess, through that BS onto Fury's desk, and eventually they did what they could with it, I guess, after that. And that's how they still had it, gotten a hold of the Tesseract and be able to do and the rest is throughout the annals of the MCU history that we know of, I guess. They say it's a retcon, but I don't feel like they retconned anything, really. I mean, the only thing that may feel off and just kind of ruin certain things, like I said, was the whole thing with with Fury, what happened, how Fury lost his eye, or had to wear that, or why he had to wear the patch or something. But overall, aside from that, I still enjoyed this film, and excuse me, didn't talk about. Anyway, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed it, Captain Marvel, and I hope you all enjoyed it as well. And as far as I'm concerned, yeah. Overall, I kind of say a thumbs up. Potential Rock in the future, depending on how, even so more so on how Endgame goes, I guess. And I understand if that being a tie-in and everything works itself out. Jude Law does his best with what he's given. Ben Mendelsohn, surprisingly, finally kind of playing a good guy, and doing a very good job of it, to the point where I'm willing to say his performance in this is probably the best we've ever seen. Mainly because he's finally kind of slightly breaking the mold and going from being considered a bad guy to more of a good guy character, which I don't think he's ever played before, which is nice. It was a nice change of pace, and almost feels like it could be a transitionary point from him going from playing a bad guy so consistently to being a good guy, which would be nice. Playing a good guy, which would be nice for Mendelsohn to have that kind of change up, and this film being that nice little transitionary thing. But anyways, what did you guys think? Leave a comment below. Let me know. Rock that like button on this video, and as well as doing the same and following on my Facebook, link in the description. The thrust, if you must. Punch that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to see more vids, and to make sure you get a chance to see more vids. And as always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking, and I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully you'll probably be seeing an upload of 4 by the time of Wednesday. I'm making sure I get my Schmodown Rocks and my Marvel review in while I can. Don't know if I'm going to be able to upload it Monday, but I plan on uploading it at least Wednesday. So before it publicly, at least for the Schmodown Rocks, before it publicly gets released through the other things, before the newer matches finally get publicly released on Thursday and Friday. But yeah, other than that, like I said, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you in the next video, which will hopefully be either Dream Theater or Gary Clark Jr. And then after that, it's going to be a nice long break for a while, or at least until I can figure out a way to get the Devin Townsend record, hopefully within the time frame of when it came out in the week of, so we can talk about some heavy Devi. Anyways, take care, y'all.